Yeah, he did seem pretty upbeat last night at the
Yeah.
shareholder meeting. He was, I mean, he was talking a lot about what the future looks like. It almost feel like I'm watching like a Star Trek episode when he talked about robots. I think it's a big relief for the company as well as the shareholders. Looks like a lot of shareholders, given that about 75% voted for the pay package. I think now the company and he can actually start focusing on delivering those metrics, which is $8.5 trillion market cap in 10 years, 400 billion EBITDA during that time. So there's lot of things he needs to do.
So those are the very specific financial metrics that he needs to achieve if he wants to get paid what shareholders have approved. But in terms of
Mhm.
actually getting there, Musk made some big promises. Humanoid robots will be doing a lot of beyond human precision surgery, for instance, and robots will play a big role in setting up bases on the moon and in Mars. And which of the
Yeah.
predictions did he make sound reasonable at this point?
I mean, robotics is an evolution. I think there is still a lot of technical challenges to make the humanoid work just as well as a human. So we're no at BI we think humanoid robots are actually a little bit ways off. But what was really interesting and kind of caught my attention was that he wanted to build. Well, he's currently designing his own chips for autonomy, but he also wants to build his own fab for autonomy, and that's really a direct competition to companies like Nvidia and some of the fab companies like TSMC. Now, his chips are a little bit different. It's a special purpose chip where NVIDIA's AI chips are made to accommodate many AI applications. His is specifically for autonomy, like robots and cars.
All right. The math I do is, in order for Mr. Musk to achieve his full $1 trillion in comp, the market cap would have to get to like 8.5 trillion. It's at 1.5 trillion now, so that's incremental $7 trillion in market cap he thinks he can create. And if he wants to take $1 billion of it, that's fine with me. I'll take the rest. And I think that's kind of what shareholders were saying with 70% of them, 75% of them are
A trillion,
approving.
you mean?
Yeah, for $1 trillion. So I mean, if he's going to make incremental $7 trillion for shareholders, he can have $1 trillion as far as he sees it.
But look, like remember, he's not taking the cash. A lot of it is just his stock, right?
Yep.
At the end of the day, he just want a greater control over the company, 25% control of the company. But he has to deliver.
Yep, has to deliver. So how do we think about this, even the car business now, Steve? It's almost an afterthought for this entire story. How are investors thinking about kind of what is the core business today?
Look, I think, yeah, you're right. A lot of people think cars is an afterthought, but I actually have a different view. What he's really trying to achieve is physical AI. Quite different than what Google is doing or ChatGPT is doing. He's actually, creating AI through cars, mobile devices, cars and robots. So, for him to proliferate autonomy, physical AI, he still needs to produce cars, right? I don't think he's going to license the full self driving to any other automakers anytime soon. So for him to proliferate autonomy, he does have to produce cars. Look, and then that's why he's also very focused on, improving the design of the Optimus robot so he can actually, build more and sell more to the market.
Yeah.
So cars is important still.
That's the understatement here. Cars is still important to
I'm
Tesla.
almost like spin out the car business and just have
that may very well happen.
And just have the rest of it as kind of this is
the
Elon
business.
Inc. This is Elon Inc. If you want to buy into all the stuff about Elon, then here's your way.
I'm so glad you bring that up because there was also Proposal 7 that was voted on at the shareholders meeting, Steve, where it was a non-binding request for the board to authorize an investment in XAI, which is essentially Elon Musk's side gig, right? The company that holds X as well as the Grok chatbot. That gives the board the option to invest Tesla's money into XAI. What does that tell us about where Tesla's headed as a company?
It's an interesting proposal, and look, they're still kind of take some time to think about that. But it's all interrelated, right? A lot of the stuff that he talked about last night about autonomy, Optimus robot from Tesla, and how those robots can be used in Mars, they're all connected. All AI is connected. So, does it make sense for Tesla to invest in XAI? Yeah, I think there's a lot of technology that can actually be shared between the different AI platforms. And right currently, if Tesla vehicles do come with Grok, which is part of XAI. So if vehicles are autonomous, Grok would and other assistant would be very useful in a vehicle for the passenger.
We have a listener question coming in. Ryan from New York City asks, what's the likelihood Tesla can compete on the global level versus Chinese robot companies? Maybe it's the leader in the US, but where does it stand versus those in Asia?
We actually published a report on humanoid robots, but specifically on auto manufacturing. What we've learned is that Chinese are very, very far ahead. They have a number of startups working on humanoid robotics, trying to improve dexterity, trying to improve the technology stack. It'll be interesting to see, and I think some people have written up the Chinese, but the fact that they have a lot of investment and a lot of startups looking at this, they'll be a formidable competitor.